Hi there, warriors, and welcome to this news live stream of the Uruguayan Heroes YouTube channel. And today we are going to look back at a weekend which has had some great performances from Uruguayans all over the world. And I think it's the good way to start is where the silverware was won, and this was in Saudi Arabia. Federico Valverde, for the second time, won the Supercopa in Spain. In semi-final, he scored an important goal, the winner he did against Barcelona, and against Bilbao on Sunday. He came on as a late substitute, did not have a really big influence on the game, but he has won the trophy anyway. So, yeah, it's a good way to start the stream, and it's a good way for him to start the year. It's his fourth trophy for Madrid, and let's hope that when the years go by, he gets more influence on his team. And at this moment in time, it's not the case, but you also have to realize he is playing alongside probably one of the best midfields the world has ever seen. It's no coincidence that they have won the Champions League three times in a row. And people obviously will look at Cristiano Ronaldo, who had his importance, but these three men, Kroos, Casemiro, and Modric, they are just amazing. So for Fede, even though he's a brilliant talent, already a really good midfielder who can still grow, obviously, but for him, even at this level, it's still hard to break into this midfield. But if he keeps going on like he has done now and taking his chances, he will be there. He will be the star, maybe even the captain for Real Madrid one day, because he really has the quality and the characteristics of doing this. So for me, seeing him lift the trophy again is really good to see. Um, so yeah, I want to thank everybody for being here. Swap and Play says hi. Good to see you here, man. So yeah, besides Federico Valverde, there was another Peñarol youth graduate who also had an important role this weekend, and it was Darwin Nunez. His team Benfica lost points at home, so this was not a good thing. But Darwin kept scoring. He scored the only goal for Benfica in this game, and he's now got 14 goals in the Portuguese league, and he's the top scorer in the Portuguese league. The funny thing is, me not as a Benfica fan, looking at how he's doing, I think he's doing really well. He's developing, getting better. But sometimes, if you look at the critics of Benfica, the fans of Benfica, they don't like him that much. And my only explanation of this can be that he is quite an unorthodox player. He's not like the most technical player. He is really rough. I think it's a rough diamond, but he does score goals and he does also create chances. For example, in the game on the weekend, when he scored the only goal, he created two golden chances for Benfica coming from the wide positions with a good cross. Um, and these are things that he also has in his game, and I'm really pleased to see his development. His first year in Benfica, he missed quite a lot of chances, and he scored only something like 14, 15 goals in a season, which is not good enough if you are the striker of one of the best teams in Portugal. But now he is already at, I think it's 21, 20, or no, it's 19, I'm sorry. So 19 goals in a half a season. And there's no reason to think that he cannot reach 30, 35 goals. And to reach this as a 22-year-old in a league which might not be the Premier League or La Liga, but the Portuguese league is still a great league, a really competitive league. To reach this in one of your first seasons in Europe as a 22-year-old is no mean feat. So Darwin is doing well and it keeps growing, keeps progressing, and I think it's great to see. And let's hope he can get some silverware with Benfica this season. And it's going to be difficult because they were knocked out of both cup competitions. This is something that is not working for him. And also in the league, they're already quite a few points behind Porto, the league leaders. So the only maybe realistic, well, it's not realistic, but the only trophy they are in and could win is the Champions League. But obviously, the team Benfica, is not strong enough, in my opinion, to reach to win this competition. So maybe it's going to be another year for Darwin without a trophy. But on a personal level, he has shown signs that he's improving and getting better. So hopefully, this can keep going on. Yeah. So let's move on to Mexico. In Mexico, a lot of Uruguayans play in Mexico, and in the last few years, they are doing really well. Jonathan Rodriguez, he just moved to Al Nassr in Saudi Arabia, but he's done really well. Nico Lopez from Tigres. There are a lot of players who've either been one of the best players in the league, being the top scorer in the league. They really are defining players over there. So this season, it seems like it's no exception. It seems like it's similar to the last years, and we see Uruguay standing out. And after 2 days, 2 match days in Mexican Clausura, it's quite clear who these persons are going to be, and they are not surprises, I would say. So Brian Lozano, he scored in the first game of the season in 2022, and in the second game on Sunday, he faced Leo Fernandez, the Toluca of Leo Fernandez, and he assisted a goal and played a really good game. It was unlucky for him that he did not get more assists because he's a real creative player who has some big qualities, and this is also the reason why he was called up to the Uruguay squad a few times. Unfortunately, because of injuries, he seems now out of the plan. But he's doing really well. Another number 10. So Lozano is the number 10 from Santos Laguna, playing against another number 10, the number 10 from Toluca, Leo Fernandez. He scored on his home return because he was at Toluca a year or two ago. Then he went back to Tigres, didn't get any playing time basically. And now he's back at the club where he is appreciated. And on his return, he was pretty good. I think I watched the game live, and I think he still has some things he can improve massively. I think it's down to the match rhythm and some confidence, but he showed some really beautiful things, some good passes, a pass that was important for the first goal from Toluca, and he also scored the second for Toluca, which basically gave them the lead, and eventually they won 3-1. So it's positive to see them doing well in Mexico. And Leo Fernandez, I think he has a future in the Uruguay national team. If he keeps going on like this, progressing, maybe steps up to a club in Europe soon. You don't know. You don't know. Another player I want to mention is Maximiliano Araujo. He's basically a left back in his youth and for the Uruguay under 20 side. But for Puebla in Mexico, he is a left winger, left midfielder, and he is doing really well there. He's being highlighted a lot by the Mexican press. And yeah, maybe big things can come up for him as well. Just 21 years of age. Also was mentioned or linked to Porto in a couple of months ago. So let's see. It's going to be interesting to see how this boy progresses because he's a talented guy, Maximiliano Araujo, who is the older brother of Cesar Araujo. Cesar Araujo, the 20-year-old midfielder who has just gone to Orlando City. So that's interesting to follow. For sure. Danny F here with the comment says, when will the Uruguay squad be announced? I'm not completely sure, but I think it will be Tuesday. This is what I read this morning from a good source, but I don't know for sure. And to be honest, it really frustrates me a little bit because I don't understand why this communication is not transparent. What would it hurt for them, for the AUF to say, okay, the squad will be announced on this date? What is wrong with this? I mean, the Brazilian Football Association, they always make sure that, or make it clear to the fans and to the players when the squad is announced on a certain date. And the AUF, every time it's a mystery when the squad will be announced. And I mean, it's a little thing. It's not really important, but it's just an example of how bad the communication between the Uruguayan Football Association and the Uruguayan people is. And that's a shame because you can do a real good work by building up this relationship, because we all know how social media is so important in these days. So if the AUF, the Uruguay Football Association, actually bothered and just hired some social media manager or did some social media campaigns, building up some hype, some relationship, and also building up some clarity and good communication between the fans and the AUF, would be beneficial for them and also obviously for us, because it's now 17th of January and in 10 days Uruguay will play against Paraguay and we still have no idea what the squad will be. So I mean, that does not make sense, right? So, but okay, it's the way it is, I guess. What I do know, or I do believe I know, I'm not someone with inside information or anything, but from what I've heard, it's that the squad will be 28 players. So that's pretty much that's bigger than normal. 23 is the normal size. 25 was the size, I think, it's the last time around because of the COVID cases. But 28, it's pretty big, and it will be 4 or 5 keepers even, because Obviously, this is a position I mean, you cannot play without a goalkeeper, and simply with the COVID rates, and not particularly that people are badly affected by it at the moment, but with the amount of COVID rates, even where I live, I mean, compared to when it first broke out, the first variant, obviously at the end of the day, most people received or were infected by the virus, but it was over a long time period, and now I mean, so many friends, including me, have already had this new variant in such a short amount of space. So this could mean that Uruguay call up three goalkeepers, and maybe two or even all three get infected by the COVID virus, which would mean that you have to play a player, which is not ideal. So this is why the Dragon also wants to have quite a lot of goalkeepers in the squad, and I don't think it's something bad, because yeah, I mean, you have to be sure that you will be all right. Danny F says Rocher, De Amores, and Mela should be the goalies. I like Sosa, but he is too old. Well, uh, but for me, there's not just no such thing as too old or too young. That's not no such thing, because for me, his level um, in the last few years and also last year is very good, and arguably the best of the all Uruguayan goalkeepers out there. So I only judge him on this level, because I don't think there's age is a thing, because you can have a 40-year-old player playing better than a 22-year-old player, for example. Does I only look at it now. I mean, I understand if you are building for a long-term future, Sebastian Sosa might not be your man, but you know what? Uruguay at this moment have to focus on the short term, only on the short term, because that's what it's down to. It's down to 4 games in the upcoming 2 or 3 months. So we have to look at the short term and who is performing at this moment in time, which is one of the reasons why, for example, Diego Godin should not start for me, Matias Vecino should not be in the squad, Martin Cáceres should not be in the squad. These are all things that, if you are basing it in the short term, who are performing right now, then these are just, I mean, should be like, we shouldn't even talk about them, right? It should be just clear for everyone. But we will see when the squad is announced. Um, Abimanu Fijai, I hope I pronounced it right. Which Uruguayan do you think will move to the Premier League? Right now, Cavani is the only Uruguayan in the entire league. Um, you know what? I don't really know, because the thing is with Premier League, I would love to see more Uruguayans in the Premier League. I mean, I think the Premier League is a brilliant league. I think sometimes it's a bit overhyped, but at the moment, for sure, the quality is really good. Um, and also, I mean, the media coverage of the Premier League is just ridiculous. You know, it's on all outskirts of the world. The Premier League is the hot product, hot property. So for sure, when it comes to marketing or visibility around the world, the Premier League is the place to be. So obviously, I would like to see Uruguayans there as well. But the thing with the Premier League is that the culture of English football, but also the culture in England when it comes to weather, the lifestyle, is not perfectly suited to Uruguayans overall. You know, not all of them obviously, but most of them prefer the lifestyle in Italy, in Portugal, in Spain, also because of language. You know, Spain obviously for the language, and Portuguese in Italy is easier for well, generally easier to communicate for Uruguayans, for South Americans of in general. So these are things that are not working for the Premier League when it comes to attracting Uruguayans. But who knows? You know, when when somebody comes calling, like maybe Liverpool, United, these clubs, Chelsea, then obviously you can be attracted. Obviously, we will see. I hope there will be, but I would not count on it, because for the reasons I just mentioned. Okay, moving on to the Serie A, which had, well, not many Uruguayans playing this week, but the ones that did play had the story. You know, I think something to talk about. So Matias Vinha played all game in the win over Cagliari, and he played well, a good game. He is getting more consistent, playing for AS Roma for Mourinho. The first months he had to adapt a lot, and he was struggling, getting a lot of critic in Italy as well. but he is now getting more consistent and not, I wouldn't say being fantastic or anything, but just reaching more concentration and reaching more focus in the games, because that is a thing that he lacks sometimes, and which is why defensively he is not the most reliable. And also one of the strengths of his, when it comes to attacking, good crosses. This is also what has been lacking for Viña in the first few months at Roma. So this is improving a little bit, and let's hope he can continue it, because Viña, if he is progressing well and if he is at his best level, he might still be our best left back. For me, at this moment in time, it's Espino and even Matias Oliveira who are better than him. But Viña, obviously, he has real good qualities, and we saw it in the first few games for Uruguay. And if he can recover this form and reach his potential, and so grow and grow and grow, then who knows what kind of player he can be for Uruguay and for Roma. So against Viña were Nandes and Pereiro playing for Cagliari. Pereiro started the game. He scored the goal and assisted the goal in the last game out, which basically won the game for Cagliari. Um, and now he didn't make really a big impact, and he was substituted by Naita Nandes in the second half. Nandes, his first appearance since from 2022, still with the court case with his ex-wife. Well, dominating the persona or the when you see Nandes, and this is probably not for me, but maybe for others as well, this is the first thing you think about. But nothing has been. There's no definitive answer or nothing clear about this case yet, so we cannot jump conclusions. Um, maybe I did a few weeks before, but as it is right now, we cannot jump to conclusions as to what happened. So we will see. What we do know is that he's not called up to the Uruguay squad, which is not because he just started playing, because Godin has not played the game yet since 2021 in mid of December. Cáceres the same. So he was not called up because of his inactivity. So most probably he was not called up because of the court case. Um, but yeah, or the court case. I'm not sure if I'm saying it right, but the allegations and the file that was appealed by his ex-wife. So this is something that we will see how it develop. Um, so yeah, I mentioned him a few seconds ago. Diego Godin, he has signed for Atletico Mineiro, and well, it's a good move for him. Atletico Mineiro are the reigning Brazilian champions, and a beautiful club as well. Um, Back to South America after I think it might be 15, 16 years after he left Nacional. So yeah, it's it's the homecoming basically, but um, it will be interesting to see how he will deal there, because of course Brazilian football might not be the same level as some of the top European leagues, but still it's a good level, and it's also a league which has many tricky, fast players in the forward positions, and this is something with which Godin at this age he has right now and his physical capabilities right now will struggle with. So it will be interesting to see. Regarding to his ex teammate for Cagliari, Martin Cáceres, he still has no club. There is interest from Italy, but nothing has been concluded yet. Matias Vecino, still an Inter Milan player, will not leave, or most definitely will not leave this transfer window. And he should, or he is probably looking, according to Italian press, to a free transfer to Lazio Roma, where he will be reunited with Maurizio Sarri. And Sarri is a coach which managed him for Empoli all these years back when he was a young player coming through in Italy. So this will be a good reunion. And it will be good for him, obviously, to leave, because he's rarely playing for Inter. I mean, as the midfield goes, you have Barea, you have Brozovic, you have Arturo Vidal, you have Kalanoglu, you have Gagliardini. All of these players are ahead of the pecking order, ahead of Ficino. So he's probably sixth, seventh choice midfielder. Maybe even Stefano Sensi is ahead of him in the pecking order. So that's not good. I mean, for me, it's not logical for a player like him to not be looking at another club. And obviously, you can do it in June as a free agent, and then obviously you can ask some money from the club. But if you are serious about your own career and also serious about being in the Uruguay team, I think you should be looking at a way out from Inter at this moment in time in January. Will he do this? It doesn't seem likely, but for me, it's a shame. I like Vecino. I liked Vecino as a player like 2 years back when he was playing regularly for Inter and before that for Fiorentina. And in these years, like 2016, 17, 18, he did really well for Uruguay. But since the 2018 World Cup, probably since 2019 actually, um, he has consistently been one of the worst players for Uruguay. And he's also dipped in importance for his club. So for me, it's time to look elsewhere, or it's time to say goodbye to Vecino as the starter, and at this moment as a squad player, because if you're not playing, you don't be called up. And Diego Alonso made an example in one of his press conferences or one of his media appearances that the fact that a player is not particularly playing at this moment in time. And he was talking about Diego Godin. He was not particularly playing at this moment in time. Doesn't mean he cannot be called up. And he made the example of Pablo Garcia, a former captain, a big player, and that he sometimes was without a club for a few months, and he still was called up and came to Uruguay and was fantastic. And obviously, these are examples. Yeah, it prove that it can happen. But for Vecino, I think it's a different case. So yeah, let's have a look at the comments. Ken Johnson, how much time will the national team have to gather before the January dates? And do you think that there will be enough time to allow Alonso to put a new tactical stamp on the team for games? It's a good question because obviously it will not be a lot of time. The interesting thing that I think will happen is that when Alonso comes in, becomes the manager, well, he has become, but when he really starts putting in the work with the players, I don't think he will allow players to arrive on the Wednesday or on the Tuesday, late on Tuesday, as we saw with Tavares many times. That a player plays on Sunday and that he has his first training on Wednesday morning. I don't think this will happen because this is not really something that is logical and not something that is allowed in a professional sport as football and a disciplined sport as football. But these were just one of the the things that Tavares allowed. I don't know exactly why, but I think Alonso would want his players to be there on Monday morning, and maybe if you play at the Sunday night, you will come at Monday night because these are things that are normal. Because you want to get the work in, you want to get 2 or 3 training sessions with the team, with the full team, not first 6 players and the second day 14 players, and then the third day, the last day, with the whole squad. You don't want this. You want to have at least 2 training sessions with the team to prepare for a game, and I think this will happen. So I think it might not be a lot of days before the game, and I'm sure it will not be because that's such the way it is. That's the nature of international football. But he certainly will get 2 or 3 days in of training before the game starts. But also the positive thing is that Diego Alonso and his coaching staff is constantly in contact with the players, also informing them about the way they want to play. So there's also some. It's not like they will come at the training and be introduced to something they have never heard or never been never been contacted about, because it's already clear that Alonso and his coaching staff are constantly in direct communication with the players. So that's something that's for me is brilliant. So yeah, I'm gonna put one tweet out so that we're live if people can join in. And I want to say thank you for you all being here. By the way, as always, just for the weekend roundup, we were talking about Darwin, Federico Valverde, Leo Fernandez, all these players who've done well. Valverde did not play a lot, but they have done something good this weekend. Played well or won a trophy like Valverde. That is something that is brilliant, obviously. Okay, Ken Johnson again, and who's your guess on the captain? That was an intriguing comment by Alonso last week that he knew who it was going to be from day one. Yeah, I think it was an intriguing comment as well. But to be honest, it might sound more intriguing than it seems. I think he was just simply he still has Diego Godin in mind. I think when he said that he knew it from day one, I think it's Diego Godin. Who else can it be? But Godin might not start or might not play in his first game. or even this complete international duty against Paraguay and against Venezuela, because he is simply not played for almost, well, I think it's certainly more than a month, but it might even be up to 2 months. So probably we will see another captain named Godin against Paraguay and against Venezuela. And for me, it depends on who starts between Cavani and Suarez. Um, and yeah, that is what it depends on. Because for me, these two are the two second captains basically. Muslera, you can talk about him obviously, but he's injured. Jose Jimenez, also interesting name to mention, but with Suarez and Cavani still in the squad or in the team, um, I don't think you can look past them for what they have done in all these years. And also, they are also leaders. They might not show it always, but Suarez, I remember the game against Brazil in 2016 in the qualifiers for the 2018 World Cup. He was the captain on a day away in Brazil. He scored a goal, obviously, on his return from the ban, from the lengthy ban. But he also had such a, well, an inspiring performance. Really different Suarez to what you normally or what you sometimes see. Someone who is, well, can be a pretty petulant player. And as a captain, I think it gives a different responsibility to him, and I think he handles it quite well. Yeah. Okay. Then you have Ugarte, Arambari, Torreira, Bentancur, Valverde, and De La Cruz are ahead of Chino. Oh, for sure. I mean, these, yeah, De La Cruz, he also hasn't played, so, but I get what you mean. In terms of quality, what they can bring to the team, these are ahead of Chino, and also I think quite a lot more than them are also ahead. And this is not just trying to be nasty to Ficino or anything, but um, it doesn't make sense for him to play for Uruguay anymore. That's just what it is, in my opinion. Okay. Eric Duran says, what formation? I will bring it up the count, by the way. What formation do you see Alonso using against Paraguay? I think it's an interesting question, and anybody in the chat, if you have any ideas, if the way you want to see Uruguay play under Alonso against Paraguay, please let me know. My opinion, yeah, let's have a look. So for me, it's all based on the form and the quality of the players they have shown in the last maybe 1, 2, 3 months. Just the recent form. That is what for me is the most important. I'm not gonna give somebody a break. He's been brilliant for 2 or 3 years and he's been bad for the last 6 months. Because what does it serve us? We want to have players who are performing right now. So the example of Matias Vinha, who was good for Uruguay in his first few games, first maybe 2 years for Uruguay, he was good. And he also was brilliant for Palmeiras. But I see now a player who, although he's played well in recent weeks, not exceptional, he played okay, was better. I see a player who struggled a lot this season and who also was one of the worst players for Uruguay in the last few qualifiers. So for me, it doesn't make sense to play him. I rather look at someone like Pacha Espino, who's done really well for Cadiz in recent months. It's been one of the best fullbacks in Spain. So for me, a play like this starts. But okay, let's get into the starting lineup. For me, the goalkeeper, Sebastian Sosa. I think there's not a lot between some of the goalkeepers, but I think Sebastian Sosa, from the current goalkeeping options, is the best one. Left back, Pacha Espino, as I said. Center backs, also Jimenez. Normally, I would love him in there, but I look at Josema Jimenez this season, and I see, although he was absolutely brilliant in the first probably 1 month, 2 months of the season, I see a Jimenez who is again had a lot of injuries, returned from injury, not very well. He was in the semi-final against Bilbao in the Super Cup last week. He wasn't good. He was all over the place sometimes. Received a red card, which I don't think is a big problem. It was in the 93rd minute. It was reckless, but okay. But I'm looking at his performance. So this does not fill me with confidence. Normally, I would say Jimenez is our starter, our first name on the team sheet when it comes to defense. But at this moment in time, I would prefer Araujo and Coates, two players who have been probably one of the best players of their team in this season, and also the last 18 months basically, but based on this season. So I would pick them. Then on right back, Damian Suarez. Nandes is not there. Guillermo Farrella is a good option. but I would think that Damian Suarez has deserved this opportunity for basically for the career he's had. But mainly because he has been such a great player for Getafe this season, one of the best right backs in Spain. Yeah, I think he can do the job there. Absolutely. Then moving on to midfield. Um, my midfield would be Torreira Valverde. I think this is the right combination. Um, these two players they complement each other quite well. Torreira is more of a sitting, holding midfielder, can distribute the ball well, but also offers protection to defense. Valverde, he also has a lot of defensive deployment, but he's also a number 8 type. That's what I would love to see for him, by the way. He's, for me, the best way to deploy him is as a number 8, getting into both boxes, being decisive in both boxes. And for me, these two-man midfield would be ideal. Then I would be looking at the number 10, basically. And the thing is, Darwin, he's currently in preseason for Flamengo, which is not ideal. De La Cruz, he's not in the squad because he hasn't played for probably 3 or 4 months because of injury. So it's not an ideal option or an ideal situation, but I would still play Darwin because he has been one of the best players for Uruguay in the last year, certainly last few games, I mean. And yeah, I mean, the qualities he has are on. I wouldn't ever dispute them, and hopefully they can even flourish more under a coach which is more attacking minded. Yeah. So then on the left, I would put Darwin Nunez, and this is not as a left winger; it's more as a left inside forward, and this is also a position he played a lot under Jorge Jesus from Benfica, the manager who has been sacked recently. So I think he can do this job brilliantly. Then as the striker, either Cavani or Suarez. You make your pick. I don't know. I don't want to choose. It's like choosing between your two kids. For me, it's no. I wouldn't like to choose. So that's the hardest one for me. And another hard one, which I haven't made my mind up yet, is the right wing position. I think Uruguay at this position needs a player who can really stretch the defense, can really go in behind, also to receive the ball, to be a threat in behind, to maybe be played in and have a one-on-one or set up a teammate, but also to have this speed to stretch the back line, to create space for our midfielders and our attackers to play and to progress the ball and to basically find opportunities. And this is something that I think Alonso is looking at very much. He wants a player on the right wing who is a pure winger with speed, with runs in behind, who is electric basically, who can also be important for his qualities, but also, like I said, really important for the space he creates with his runs. And for me, this is the biggest. This is something that Alonso has to figure out. Obviously, I'm not sure if he wants to play like this, but if he wants to play like this, which based on his previous management jobs, he likes to play with the four-man back line, two-man midfield with one midfielder basically sitting and the other box to box. Then he wants to play with two wingers who are pretty inside, so the fullbacks can go up with the overlap, and a striker and a central attacking midfielder who are quite fluent in their positions, or fluid. I mean, fluent. So we're quite fluid in their positions and they can chase around a little bit. But the right wing and the left wing, and Darwin can do this really well, but Darwin also is a player who has so much goal threat, so you want him close to your striker. But the right wing has to be, in my opinion, a pure winger with speed who can stretch the back line and have an individual game, can take on defenders. And we have options. It can either be Ocampo, Pelistri, Brian Rodriguez, David Terrans is even an option. And you might think, well, I don't think he's good enough. I don't think he is good enough. But what I'm trying to say is that these are all players who have these qualities, have the speed, have the one-on-one. So in potential, they could do this job. So it will be interesting to see how these players, develop themselves over the coming few months, and how Alonso rates them. So yeah. Okay, Danny F says he is an idea for the lineup 4-3-3. Goalkeeper Rochette. I will put it on the screen, by the way. So here it is. Rochette, Oliveira left back, Araujo, Josema, Damian, Torreira, Bentancur, Valverde, Darwin, Suarez, and Canobio or Rossi. I think that's a decent lineup for sure. Yeah, I think the midfield you are proposing is probably when we play like this, when we play with the three-man midfield, is probably the best midfield Uruguay currently have. I mean, Bentancur, he's not doing really well for Juventus. He's not been doing really well for the last 2 seasons, but for Uruguay, we can all understand, or we can all acknowledge that he has been one of the best players for Uruguay. So yeah, and in the front line, Darwin from the left, Suarez as a striker, Canobio, Rossi. I think Rossi is. I understand the suggestion, but Diego Rossi, he's went to Fenerbahce and he struggled a lot there. He's not been a starter, or he started off as someone who was given the trust, basically starting games, but he's not performed really well, and he has now been, well, part of Plan B, basically starting a lot of games on the bench. So for me, he has to be performing on a good level first in Europe before we should consider him as a starting position for Uruguay. Canobio is interesting. Um, I think mainly for Peñarol, he plays also a lot in midfield, but I know that these are the qualities he can also have on the right wing. He showed it at Uruguay youth divisions or youth level. But I wouldn't pick him as well there. I would look at the names I just mentioned. Nico Lopez is someone you can also think about, but Nico Lopez is more of a second striker in my opinion. I don't think he would be brilliant on the right wing position. He is someone who has a lovely left foot, um, who is also someone who likes to shoot on goal pretty much every time he gets the ball. I don't think he's quite the profile we need on the right wing. But okay, maybe I'm wrong there. Who knows? We will see. Yeah, that's he can play as attacking midfielder and a right inside forward. Yeah, I mean I understand what you mean, but then the thing is, then you have Suarez, who's basically has no, um, well, not the physicality to go in behind, create space, or be a threat on the break. Nico Lopez, who is someone who wants the ball at his feet, who likes to cut inside, and Darwin, who also a lot of times likes to cut inside, likes to get close to Suarez to the attacking positioning, to the basically get in the box. So then you have basically three strikers who are really congested, and I mean this can obviously work in theory when you have fullbacks who overlap, then it can work. But I don't think this is something that Diego Alonso wants to set up his team. But who knows? Who knows? Okay. I think Matias Carvalho says, I think Cavani starts off as Suarez now. It's so difficult to admit, but Suarez is lacking in many aspects of the game. Yeah, I mean, when you watch Cavani play, for example, for United this season, I don't think he's been brilliant or anything, but what Cavani does still offer is brilliant movement, a lot of a lot of running, a lot of sacrifice, a lot of hard work. His link up play sometimes can be a little bit sloppy, but I think this is also to do with the match rhythm because he's not been playing like a lot of games. But physically, for sure, Cavani is on a much higher level than Suarez because Suarez at this moment in time it's not going for him in front of goal, which is partly down to Atletico Madrid, who are not playing very well this season, to be quite honest. And I would say they're playing really bad, by the way. But Suarez also, besides goal scoring, he offers very little. That's for me always something when I see it, and I know it right now because it's been like this for certainly the last 1 or 2 years. So I understand this is Suarez in this current stage of his career, but it's really hard for me to see always because we all remember the Suarez who was everywhere, doing everything, being the heartbeat of a team, scoring goals, assisting goals, linking up play, dribbling, tracking back, and then now you have a player who is turning 35 in 1 week time, who simply is not the same player because yeah, his knee, certainly his right knee, but also his body and overall is not as it was. So physically, he's deteriorated a lot. So based on these comparison between Cavani and Suarez on the physical level, and also yeah, just the incapability to get involved in the overall play, you have to say Cavani is probably a better option in the striker position. But who knows? You never know what Suarez will come up with. He might turn it around in some way. I don't know. But yeah, I agree with you that at this moment in time, I agree with you, Matthias, that Cavani certainly is the better, better the the better bet or the better pick for the striker position. Kent says, "What about Facundo Torres' right wing, or is he left-footed?" Yeah, he is. But for me, it doesn't even really matter if he's left-footed. But I think he is quite similar then to a player like Nico Lopez, who is quite wants the ball at his feet most of the time, cutting inside. Which I mean, it's brilliant to have a player like this. But I think you have to have a winger, a pure winger, getting in behind as well. But okay, yeah, okay. Let me have a sip of water because getting a dry throat now. But then we will move on to another topic, which is for me an interesting topic because in the not in the running, I would say, because before it was even mentioned, he was basically discarded. But Guillermo Almada, who was being reported by the media as an option, as a candidate for the Uruguay job, um, and he hasn't taken it obviously, or he hasn't become it because Diego Alonso is now the manager. But he has instead gone to Pachuca, a Mexican team. He was at Santos Laguna last season, but they parted ways, and now he's at Pachuca. And in his first two games, he's won them both. He was sent off on the weekend by because of an argument with the referee, but he won, or his team won both games, and it's a good start for him at Pachuca. And I absolutely love to see it because I think Almada is probably the best Uruguayan manager out there. Um, not only not only because of the results, because he has some had some good results. He has done really well at Barcelona in Ecuador. He's done some great job for River Plate, getting into international competitions, River Plate Montevideo, and at Santos Laguna, despite not winning a title, he has he's done a fantastic job there. And ask any Mexican football follower, and they will really say the same. And what makes him such an interesting and for me a really good manager is that first of all he tries to always bring a good style of play at his team, and I mean with good I mean open, attacking, fluid positioning, and sometimes this might mean that they ship some goals, but whenever you see Almada teams play, they try to play football in a good way, in an attractive way, and more often than not, they can pull it off and they excite the fans. Another thing with Almada, which Almada also always brings to his teams, is the development or the, the chances to the youth players. So also right now, I think he played an 18-year old kid last night for Pachuca, and for Santos Laguna, a lot of players, Mexican players, are also or foreign players who are played in Mexico, or he transferred to Santos Laguna. They got a chance and they developed and they got better under the wings of Almada. Because Almada is a real coach, a real coach. You know, you sometimes have managers who who are more like a figurehead or a spokesperson to the media than they are really getting involved on the tactical side on the pitch. For example, Alex Ferguson was like this. Also, obviously, Alex Ferguson was more than a spokesperson in the media, but he used to have his coaches take care of all the training sessions. You wouldn't see him at the training pitches often trying to get involved with the tactical sessions and anything like this. And so you have this type of manager who is more hands off, more a people manager basically. But Almada, in contrast, is a real coach who who takes who takes a lot of time to develop his players, develop his teams. And at Pachuca, it seems like he can do this again, or he will do this again. Obviously, two games. I mean, a lot can happen. He can lose the next five and be sacked. You know how football goes. It's a real dynamic world, and sometimes to detriment of players or managers. But yeah, I just wanted to highlight that he started up well for Pachuca. Let's hope he can carry it on because I love his work. Okay, the last thing I wanted to mention in the stream, because we've already been going on for 44 minutes, is the loan move from Martin Satriano to Stade Brestois has been completed. Stade Brestois is a French club playing in Ligue 1. Satriano, who impressed for Inter in the preseason, was then kept on board by Simone Inzaghi, the manager of Inter. because he believed that he might be of importance for Inter, and he liked him as a player basically. But yeah, all nice and well, but he played like 2 or 3 substitute appearances and nothing more. So he's now went out on loan to a team that he could probably get a lot of minutes for, and that is the best for him, because he has to keep playing. That's the thing with young players. That's that is a reason why it's all nice and well playing for a big club and obviously probably getting a good salary. But if you want to make a career in football, it's so important in these younger years, playing on a weekly basis, growing. Not exactly. I mean, it's for me. It's when a 21-year old is going through a tough phase, like for example Brian Rodriguez. It's never nice to see, but it doesn't always mean something. So it doesn't always mean you can write them or you have to write them off. Because if someone keeps playing, keep getting experience, this person or this player will hopefully learn from it, will hopefully get, well, improve his game from it and work harder. And you never know what can happen. And with Satriano, for him, it's important that he keeps playing or he gets back to playing basically on a good level, because it's all right to play in the youth team for Inter some games as he did this season, but he's 20 years of age and he's ready for a top league and playing there regularly. So yeah, let's hope he can score some goals, follow the footsteps of Edison Cavani. Let's hope so. Will be nice. Will be nice. Okay, guys or girls, thanks all for being here. I will probably be back tomorrow with a watch along for for an African Cup game, African Cup of Nations game. I did it last week and I liked it, but it's also quite a good mix right now because tomorrow is expected that the squad list will be announced of Uruguay. So I will be watching the game in a watch along live on here. Hopefully you will as well. But also meanwhile we can talk about the squad list if it is announced. I think it will be tomorrow. But yeah, in that case, I will be live and we'll be talking about it with you while we also enjoy some football. But yeah, let's see. Okay. I want to thank you all for being here. Please like the video if you want. Will help me a lot to get more visibility on YouTube. And also subscribe to the channel if you're not already. And then I'll see you tomorrow or maybe later. But I will catch you up on Twitter. So yeah, you can be there, be updated on everything about Uruguayan football, and also know if I will be there on the on the YouTube live stream tomorrow. Okay. Bye bye.